56 minutes, episode number 14. Now, normally we record these things live, but I had a little something going on this weekend, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to put on the show, so I pre-recorded this. So, your questions and comments and stuff, I'm not going to see them live this time. Normally we shoot this thing. We've got audience participation and Facebook, YouTube, all sorts of questions and comments coming in. Every once in a while we bring in people on the show. It's not going to happen tonight. So get ready to sit back and watch. What we're going to talk about tonight is the Shamrock Court. Yes, it's been just over 2 years since my wife and I took possession of the Shamrock Court. And I thought it might be kind of nifty to go into what it's like to own an old abandoned motel. We're going to just kind of do a slideshow kind of thing here, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get right into it. These photos that you see on your screen, this is pretty much how I encountered the Shamrock when I first laid eyes on it. And at this time, this particular visit was, I think, the first time I met Billy Weiland, the former owner of the Shamrock. And little did I know I was going to be the owner one day. But this is a fairly old image. I believe this is from 2016. In fact, you see right in here, we still have an old TV antenna, and we still have this ginormous oak tree towering over the western or southern flank of the motel, and you can kind of see the roof and everything. This is how it looked just a few years back. So we'll just kind of glance around at a few more images. You know, it was really enchanting seeing this place for the first time because, you know, it was just kind of this little motel sitting here in this lawn. You know, it's been so long since anybody had done anything here. The grass just sort of grew in where the old parking lot was at. So it was just really neat to see this old stone motel. Back then I tried to take some interesting pictures and photos and stuff because at the time I didn't know how much longer this place was going to be here. This happened to be the old office bell, door ringer. Somebody stole that a couple years ago right after we took possession of it, and that's unfortunate because it had been around for a long time. Eventually we did get into the motel because we were interested in it. We didn't know how interested we would be, but Billy was nice enough to show us around on the inside. And it's interesting, the Weiland family, I should probably go back into the history here, they bought the Shamrock when it was just a few years old. They bought it in 1953, and Billy, he sold it to me in 2021. So if you think about it, they owned it all those years, roughly about 70 years. That's pretty neat. So we are the third owners, which is something I think is very special. I don't think you see that very often, even with cars and stuff. If you have a one owner or a two owner car, it's deemed very special, very rare. So let's take a look inside and see what the Shamrock looked like inside. Let me find a better picture here. When we first started taking a look at this. And this image, let me see here, this is from 2018. So this is 2 years later after the fact. This is what the kitchen used to look like. And I want to show you, I might have a video here at some point. I'll have to go back and look. But here's what some of the rooms looked like. Again, for those that don't know the history on the motel, sometime in the 70s when it was bypassed, the interstate bypassed the motel. They converted over the motel units into little efficiency apartments, and they had little kitchenettes and stuff in them. They kept the showers and the bathrooms, but what they did was they combined motel rooms, and I'll see if I can pull the floor plan up and see if that'll help. Yes, so originally what we had was 10 rooms, and so the Weilands, they lived here in the central corridor area. This was the master bedroom here. This was the master bathroom. This was their dining area. slash kind of office lobby. This was the check-in area, kitchen, so on and so forth. Now, they had 3 sons. They had John, Guy, and actually John goes by Jay. Jay, Guy, and Billy. Billy was the youngest. He's the one I bought the motel from. But the oldest, Jay, he lived over here, and I know these numbers are off. This actually is unit number 1. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Billy and his older brother Guy, the middle child, they shared a room here, number 10. So basically the Weilands occupied this whole back area. You had a mechanical room, and you had a storage area here. You had this little well house that was off the side, and that's what the place used to look like. That's how it pretty much remained from 1953 up until I took possession of it in 2021. Let's go back and see if we can take a little peek inside again now that we've gone over some of the history. So this is the inside dining room area slash kind of check-in area. It's got a nice fireplace. It's difficult to see here because there's stuff stored in. Now, it doesn't look anything like that today. This is still 2018. There's that kitchen view again. There's another view of the kitchen. You can just kind of see over here in the corner how the floor is splitting. The floors are completely sagged out. I mean, they were completely collapsed. Let's see if we got a little video here that reveals it. Okay. So here's a video. I'm going to pause it here. You can see the floors have completely given way independently from the wall. Keep going here. But remarkably, it was in bad condition. Billy's dad had passed away in about 2009, so this was about 9 years later. Let's pause it again. Here again, you can see the floor has completely collapsed right through here. You can see the doorway and all that right through here. It's just like a roller coaster. And then this doorway here goes off into the kitchen. And this is pretty important to note because I had looked at this crack just a couple weeks ago, and I didn't recall seeing that crack there, but as we see here today, this is from 2018, that crack was there, nice and big. I spent a lot of time with Frank Blair straightening out these walls, raising them up, actually pushing them around because they'd kind of deflected and moved. So we got those walls trued out pretty well, I think. So I'm going to go through here. Here's the kitchen. Wish I could see down. If this was a 360 video, I could turn and pan and do all sorts of stuff. But this kitchen, a couple years later, when we did our cleanup for the Missouri Route 66 Association, this floor had completely collapsed as well. In fact, the oven was just hanging in the air. All right, this is the hallway. Again, you can see the floors collapsed. So, truth be told, my wife and I were looking at all this, and we're like, oh my gosh, there is no way. There's no way we can take on such a project. It was, I mean, I'll just be honest, it was a mess. And it still is to this day. It still is kind of a mess. Although we are striving and working very hard to get to a point where we're on the downhill side. And we're almost there. You can see the images of the roof, especially through here, the roof rot. This was probably the worst section of everything. And we took care of all that back in 2021 is when we put the new roof on. Here's a close-up. You can see the original green shingles right there underneath these gray shingles. That's the original roof right there, I think, from 1948. It doesn't suggest that they'd ever did a tear-off before that. In fact, when we tore off the dormers, and here's a dormer right here for those that don't know what a dormer is, some of these dormers had like 5 or 6 layers of shingles on them. They were like this thick. They were super, super thick. So we'll keep moving on here. Images from one of our first cleanup sessions. We had a lot of great people come out and help. It was a big, big, successful week that we had out there. We got a lot done. and I'll get into that in just a second. I've got these kind of itemized out, but I thought it might be kind of interesting first to go into some of the historical images from when the Shamrock was around. This is 1958. We know it's 1958 because it says 58 here, and that's a 58 Chevy right behind this man who looks like he's a priest. And it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if we can, I can't really get a good zoom in here. Let me see if I can get a bigger image. There we go. So this was one of those images. It's difficult to tell here, but this for the first time revealed to me that there was neon on the dormers. And that was an interesting find. So we got neon on the dormers. We got the chimney stacks back here. Got the old chairs. You can see the aluminum screen windows, which was always kind of a mystery to me when those were put in, but I've got my theories on that as well. So we'll close this out. Move on to another image. I'm going to go into some scans that I received from Billy. This one here was interesting. Let me see if I can. Okay, this is the real image right here. This lady, this is in front of the office door. And upon really, really close examination, I noticed a couple different things. Number one, the sidewalk had been replaced. This was the original sidewalk. What's out there now is a ramped sidewalk. And come to find out later, after speaking with Billy, his mom had come down with a really nasty case of cancer, which made it difficult for her to get around. She had to use a cane to walk around. So Billy's dad, trying to support her, he went ahead and had these sidewalks completely replaced. I want to say in like sometime between 86 and 87. And he had this made into a ramp. So he got rid of the step, made that into a ramp. We also noticed, I mentioned earlier about the bell. So what we have here, and it's hard to make out on your screen probably, but this says office. It's got a little arrow cut out. This is office, and there's a neat little sign here. It says ring bell, and then there's a button. Now today, that wire is still sticking out of the side of the wall for that doorbell. It's one of my goals in life is to get this little sign here reproduced, something like this that will pay homage to what was there originally. But the best thing is up here. And I found this later on. Billy didn't even have any idea about this. Now his brother Jay did when I talked to him. You can just very faintly read this neon sign that says office. We did have that recreated last year during the relighting ceremony, but it was a last minute thing. Like we'd already had the sign done. We had all this stuff already done, ready to go. And then I came across this image and it showed the office sign. I said, oh my gosh, we got to put that back up there. And we did corroborate this fact with Jay. He remembered the neon sign, but he said at some point it got damaged or something, and Dad took it down. And there's still a little pathway through here where the wires used to hang down for that office sign. Just neat. You know, the whole motel is almost entirely intact. I got this little marker here. This is the original light. It's still there as far as I know. I think it's still the same light from the 1940s, and it's still out there. Okay, so what's next? This is just an old image. It says 1957. We see the TV antenna out here. Got a cool old station wagon. We got the old lawn chairs. We get into some stationery. This is really neat. You got the old telephone number. This is original to the very first owners. This is from Mr. Freeman Dodds. This is the guy that built the motor court, and he has all these rules. This was pretty neat. I don't know if I still have some of this actual physical paper, but luckily we did scan it in. Here's some stationery. I do have some of this. This is after Rose and John Weiland took it over. And I do have some of that paper stationery. Eventually, of course, we will be reproducing that. More information on what you can and cannot do in the rooms from Freeman Dodds. This is Ace the dog. But beyond that, this is the rear portion of the Shamrock. What's important to note, this is the garage over here, and then you see all these rocks piled up. Well, this was sometime in the late 80s, and all these rocks were left over from the construction of the motel. These were all the field rocks and everything that had been selected to build the Shamrock. And the architect, as far as we know, that built the Shamrock, he did a lot of stuff around Sullivan, was Grandpa Berti, B-E-R-T-I, Berti. And as far as I know, these rocks were intended probably to cover the garage and to cover the well house. The well house is not covered, and they had a lot of rocks here. Now, that pile has been significantly pilfered. According to Billy, his dad let people take the rocks and use them for garden decorations and stuff like that. Other pictures. Here's a nice family picture from roughly 1955. This was Rose, Billy's mom. This is John, Billy's dad. This is Jay, the oldest, and this is Guy, newly born Guy. Billy's not there yet as a baby. That's the middle child. Moving on, we got a happy anniversary. This is John. This is Rose again. This is the people that owned it. Billy's parents. Again, we can still see this step out here. We have the newer office ringing the bell sign. Behind them, we have this Coca-Cola machine, which at some point I will get something out there to place the machine there. There is still electricity there running to that area, and as far as I know, it's still working. I've used it quite a few times. Now, from other people, we got some clips or some pictures from honeymoon photos. These are from people who had visited the Shamrock Court, and I forgot what year this was, but I want to say it was late 50s, and no TV antenna, so it was actually probably early 1950s. We can see the office sign there barely. I don't know if I can zoom in. It's not letting me zoom in. Nope. Not letting me zoom in, but I can barely see the office sign there. And we got all these chairs and stuff. Pretty neat stuff. Move on to the next one. There's another image. Again, that TV antenna is not there. We have the vegetation that we see in the postcards, and I'll show the postcards here in just a little bit. Old cars. I mean, that's the early 40s, I'm guessing. I don't even know what that is, and I'm a car guy. Next one. This is a really neat view. I like this view because it shows the little hedgerow that was out front, and I do intend on replacing and reinstating that hedgerow. At one time, I'm guessing, at least in the postcards, there was an arbor here, and people would come out here and hang out and do stuff like that. Now today, there's a significantly increased amount of traffic. Interstate 44 runs probably about 600 feet away from the motel out to the front, so it'd be behind you in the perspective of this image. It is loud. You know, this motel acts like a giant megaphone today. So if you're standing anywhere in proximity of the center line out in front of this motel, all the noise that emanates from the interstate just is amplified and reverberates at you. It is super loud out here in front. It's difficult to talk to somebody who's just maybe 15, 20 feet away from you. That's how bad it is. So I don't think we're going to replicate this casual little gathering area out here in the front. We'll put the arbor back in, maybe do some garden stuff, but that's about it. It's very comfortable behind the Shamrock. It's very quiet in the Shamrock because the walls are like 12 inches thick, but out here is crazy. And one other thing I just noticed is this stick over here. This stick happens to be a tree. This is a maple tree. These maple trees are still here today. If you're paying attention, I mentioned a gargantuan oak tree that covers this western or southern flank over here. We're going to get to that in a second because that tree is huge. But it's just amazing how fast an oak tree can grow, because that oak tree was younger than these maple trees. Next image. I think we saw that one earlier. We saw those earlier. Let's see, what's this? We saw those earlier. Here's one that we didn't see. I can't really read that, but it says 1953. So that would have been, and I think that's John and that's Rose. I'm not sure who all the kids are, but that's probably Jay. I'm guessing. I don't know. Billy will probably chime in on this video. I'm sure he'll elaborate. But that's a neat little scooter that kid's sitting in. This is on, I'm guessing this is probably on the west side, the western flank. Again, we see that ornate neon up there, and we see neon through here. You got the storm doors and everything, storm windows, original sidewalks. This is 1959. This is a bit of color. And we've got everybody in here. Again, we can kind of see the pieces of neon up here. We still have the original color that we have today around the windows, which is kind of a creamy yellow color. This was a function of the ladies getting together. This would have been in the dining room slash kind of registration area, check-in area. Actually, I'm noticing this would have been on the left side, because there's a door there. Yeah, the kitchen would be to the left. The front door would be to the right. I thought before always that this was the dining room area. This is not. So this door leads off to one of the breezeways. So anyway, got a bunch of ladies here all hanging out. To me, it's hard to believe they can all fit in there because it's such a small room, but that's the way they did things back then. We got some other people here. I know this is Rose. I forget who these ladies are. I know Billy told me at one time, but again, we can kind of see those neon pieces there up in the dormers. That's always pretty cool. Okay, so this image, this is a doctored image. It's so fascinating to me, this image. Number one, what was the motive for taking this image? And I believe there's a number of things that are going to kind of support my beliefs here. Freeman Dodds, when he built this, you'll notice this is the little well house out here. This is the garage. Remember, we had that big bunch of rocks around there that was just piled up. There's a couple other things too. I think he ran out of money when he built this. I think he either ran out of money or he ran out of motivation, something when he built this place, because there was a lot of things left unfinished. The well house was left unfinished. The garage was not cladded with rock either. And one thing I didn't touch on earlier is this area right down here in the corner. These were public bathrooms, or at least they were intended to be public bathrooms, right in here. Now the plumbing was there, all the different, all the plumbing was sticking out of the floor, but there was zero evidence of there ever being any fixtures in there. There was no evidence of a toilet, no evidence of a sink. There were supposed to be showers in there, little stand-up showers, but there was no evidence of that. And I really think that Freeman Dodds ran out of money because, generally speaking, and in all the rooms we've been through, you can see where people painted around toilets and stuff like that. There was no evidence of that, and none of the sons could tell me that there was ever fixtures in there. So I think he ran out of money, and there's a whole other theory as to why those rooms were there. I'll get into that in just a second. But this is a 1950s aerial. I think Freeman Dodds hired an aerial photographer to take this. Now, he had to be flying pretty low to get this image. Now, this would have been 51, 52, somewhere in there. This would have been Route 66 right through here. Now, there's been a change. This image speaks volumes. You only say a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is one of those. This little nub right here is a fire hydrant. I can't zoom in. Let's see if I can blow this up. Okay. Still not going to let me, is it? It's not letting me zoom in. Oh, there we go. So this little nub right here is a fire hydrant. That fire hydrant is still there in that spot. But the corner of the road is like right here. So Route 66 through this area, gone. This would be like the grassy area between what people think is Route 66 now and the westbound lanes of I-44. Westbound lanes of I-44 are probably right in here in this area. So this is before the bypass. The state would have bought, and Billy's confirmed this with me, they would have bought this frontage from the Wylands and the other property owners. So essentially they lost all this area. Well, there's other things here too. There's a sign right here. There's a sign right here. Now this sign here would be, this is the Shamrock sign right here. And we can kind of see those sticks we talked about here, 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 here. There's sticks. And I lost my image. There we go. Those are all the maple trees that are there today. We see this wide expanse of land that we're today. Everything is developed, mostly industrial. This street runs all the way through. So I want to get back into those little rooms that we talked about. These little guys right here, these rooms. Why did we have these rooms? Well, I think it's my belief. I don't know if I have a better plan here. I think that's going to be it. So my belief is based on the postcards. If I could find them, I'll pop those up. Here's one right here. That's the postcard. So we see in the front room, this is the fireplace, this is the dining room area, all that. We would have had like a little cafe. Now, in the kitchen, we found where they had boarded over a spot in the wall that was for an exhaust fan, like a hood almost. So I think they had somewhat of a semi-commercial kitchen. Another thing that supports that theory is every door, and there's 3 doors that lead into the kitchen. There was one that comes from the hallway, one from the office, the front office, and then one from the breezeway. There was 3 doors serving that kitchen that could close and latch. Very strange, but I think they did that to kind of keep it separated from this dining room area. I think the Dodds were like, oh, we're going to have a tiny little cafe, and look how smushed up this is. These people would have been just smashed together, and they're like sardines. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 tables, it looks like, in that little room up front. So what does this all mean? Well, let's go back. If I can zoom in. Let's go back. I don't like that image. We talked about the floor plan. Here we go. This is okay. This is a modern floor plan, but it still works. These little rooms back here, all those postcard images of tables and cafe chairs were right in this area. So I believe that if you were just stopping in on the road, maybe to get a quick bite to eat, or maybe you hadn't checked in yet, or you checked out, you wanted to use the restroom. Well, you're not going to use the master restroom, which this plan doesn't show. Let's go back. Oh, gosh. So many files. Okay, well, here we go. There it is. So you're not going to use the master. Here's the master bathroom. You're not going to use that. That's not going to happen, right? If you're over here as a guest and you don't have a room, you're going to walk through this area, through the breezeway. You're going to walk down the breezeway, out this back door, and these are your public restrooms. There's something else. I have to go back to this other image, this here. So you got to think, in the late 1940s, when Freeman built this motel, that motels were somewhat still of a new novelty, and maybe not everybody could afford them. I did look through my archive before making this video today, and I found one of those Freeman Dodds postcards where somebody had written $15 on it. Now, that could have been the nightly rate. I don't know. I don't know why they would have wrote $15 on the back of a 1948 postcard, but they did. They wrote $15 and they wrote Route 66. So I think they were taking notes on the back of this postcard. I don't know. But camping on the side of the road was still a thing back then. A lot of people camped on the side of the road. They did it to save money. They did it to save time in some respects. And so if people were traveling through, Freeman Dodds, being the entrepreneur that he was, maybe he had those little bathrooms off the back because they were supposed to have showers in them too, as little shower houses. So you've got this wide expanse of land back here. Maybe you pulled into the Shamrock and you go into the office and you say, hey, I don't want a room. I just want to camp in your back pasture here and have a bathroom. Well, okay, sir, give us $1, 50 cents, whatever it is back then. You can use our showers. And oh, by the way, we got a little cafe here if you're hungry. That's what I think happened. That's what I think what the intent was. I don't think it ever came to fruition, but I think that's what the intent was. I think the only reason you'd have 2 exterior bathrooms on the back side of the building aimed out at this pasture area is because Freeman Dodds had plans of opening those up to overnight campers. Pretty interesting, huh? There's a lot more that goes into this image. This image helped me find the original parking lot when I was trying to sculpt the parking lot out. This image helped me do that. I was able to do that because of this image. We've got a septic field in this area, which is no longer in use. The signs, that was another thing. So if we zoom in here, now this is another one I noticed very, very late in the game after we had already recreated the Shamrock neon sign. And I'll get to that too in just a second on how we determined the Shamrock neon sign. But this to me always looked like a little sign. I asked Billy about it and he says, I don't know, I think you're crazy. I don't think there was anything there. So I called his brother Jay, the oldest brother. He had been around for quite a few years before Billy came along. And he says, yes, there was a sign there. And it was a neon sign. It said vacancy. And there was not, just the neon said vacancy. But the no was written in letters in paint on there. And he said, Dad would send me out if we were occupied fully, and there'd be a flap that could cover up the no, or you could drop the flap down and it would cover up the vacancy or the no on the vacancy. Basically, it was an indicator flap. You put the flap up to cover it up, put the flap down, it would reveal no for no vacancy, and that's where that sign was at. He didn't remember what happened to it, where it went. By that time, I had already created the no vacancy sign that's attached to the signpost now, and so I wasn't going to change it. Plus, I felt like with it being so low to the ground, it was much more susceptible to damage, say from a rock being thrown by a lawnmower or something else. I just didn't want to risk that. But one of the interesting finds we had in doing all this work is that they ran the neon or the wire for the neon signs through this culvert. And that's still the original culvert that's there today. We actually have to replace it. It's rotted out. But the wire for the neon signs, if you go there today, is still in that culvert. This sign right here, I'm going to get into in just a second. This was a lost sign we had some questions about. And just real quick before I jump, I want to talk about the Shamrock neon sign. This is the image that helped us recreate the Shamrock sign, along with finding some of the original neon pieces in the old well house during a 2020 cleanup session. Was it 2020 or 2019? I forget. Yeah, I'll look it up here in a little bit. When we did our cleanup session with the Missouri Route 66 Association, prior to me taking ownership, we found a bunch of this original neon. In fact, some of it's behind me right here. So here is the MR from that sign. This is it right here in my hands right now. This still lights up today in pink. Still a good piece of neon. Pretty cool. They spent a lot of money on neon signs at the Shamrock Court, and I spent a lot of time researching them and figuring out just how much neon they had. and it was a lot. They had a ton of neon signage and neon, oh gosh, what am I trying to think of? Supplemental neon, like around the dormers and stuff like that. Anyway, because they had this sign here, we were able to measure out, along with having the letters and scale, exactly the same size as this sign. Because there's only 2 pairs of windows like this. It's in front of the office, and so that was pretty cool. I'm glad we were able to use that image there. So, no, this is interesting. You know, I get a lot of people that say, I didn't know this was here. I never saw this before. Where did this come from? And I'll be honest, as much as I've roamed up and down Route 66, this place escaped me too. I don't think I seen it at all for the first time until 2016. All the times I've driven up and down Route 66, I never saw this place because it was completely obscured by trees. This is it. There's the Shamrock. Right in here. Right in here is where the Shamrock is. This tree's still here. I got rid of these trees. I got rid of one of these trees here because it was dead. But yeah, this was the Shamrock in 2017. You couldn't even see it. It's crazy how obscured it was. And you see it today, you can see it perfectly from the highway. This sign here, let me see if I can find this sign. Do a quick search. See if it'll pop up. Here it is. Okay. The modern sign, which Shelley Graham, this is her picture. Let's open it up here a little bit bigger. So this is the shed. Again, this is the old garage. This is the pile of rocks we talked about. This is that sign that was out there on the front. And I actually have some of the neon from it. We have Ted. That was the thing. When we pulled all the old neon relics out of the well house, we had a 3-letter word that said Ted. And you're like, who's Ted? What's Ted? Well, we figured it meant heated, but we had no evidence of there being a sign that said heated, and Billy didn't remember either. Shelley Graham had taken this photo back in 1993, I think, allegedly, or maybe 2000, somewhere in there, between early 90s and the early 2000s. She shot this image. Thank God, because this was the only real good image we have of this sign, and she was able to kind of recollect what it may have said, how it may have looked. One of these days, I'm going to recreate that sign, but that sign would have been out there in the front. Now, when we look at this other image, we'll see 3 tiers. You're like, oh, Rich, that's a different side. Well, I forget who verified it, but what it used to say, I think, on top was motel. And it said heated. Motel, heated, modern. And this sign ended up getting thrown over here. I don't know why. It must have gotten damaged or something. I do know that they were forced to relinquish this section of road, which was right away for Department of Transportation at the time. And I do know that I have found where this light post has come down. It's not far from where the existing light post is today. In fact, when I was drilling the hole for the new light post, I kept feeling a hard spot in the track of my machine. I was using a skid steer, and I was going over this spot, and I kept feeling a lump, and it usually tells me I'm hitting a large rock or something. I said, no, it must be a concrete pier. So I went out there and looked at it, and sure enough, there's a concrete pier from this old signpost. This would have been the old Shamrock sign. So let's see what else we got here. I have this explanation. I just did all that. Let's look at an old video from back when the Weilands had occupied the place. It's an old 1960s video, I think from 1963. Let's check it out. So, good times. Now, let's pause. This would have been our shed. This would have been the back side of the building. Propane tanks were off on the south corner of the building. The property. And everybody's just kind of gathered together, having a good old time, dancing, drinking, smoking. That's what we did in the 60s, right? Good times. Old lawn chairs. Now this one, this is across the street. I believe John at one time had placed mobile homes over there, rented them out, rented pads out or something, because there is a water line that comes into the Shamrock that runs across the street. I found it by accident. I thought it was the incoming water line. It was the outgoing water line. And I had made a cut with a saw and it blew water all over the place, and it was a mess. But yeah. People just kind of getting together, drinking soda and stuff. There's the old shed. That's the old garage. You can see the roof's in bad condition then, 1963 roughly. We're a little overexposed there. Here's the men getting together, and they're playing a game of baseball. Now, this would be across the street. Now, for the people that have visited the Shamrock, this setting right here is where Figler Excavating is, out on the horizon, just right here on this ledge. That's Route 66. You got the boys out there running a base. That's not a UFO. That's probably a bird. But what I'm going to show you next, if we talked about neon, they had a bunch of neon. So they had what I call like a skeletal neon sign. It didn't have any sort of cabinet. It was just like wood or some sort of apparatus that held the letters. And it used to say Court and then Shamrock, or Shamrock and then Court. Something like that, kind of like an upside down T. And we catch just a real faint image of that in just a second, I think. You can see the cars passing by on 66. Oh, hold on, let me go back. I just saw it. Let me go back. All right, we're going to see it here in just a second, I think. No, we passed it up again. Let me go back. Right there. Okay. Right there. You can see the telephone pole. This says Court, vertical. This says Shamrock, horizontal at the base. I've got some of those letters. I got the big giant O behind me right now. They were just letters suspended up in the air, and that would have been facing the westbound travelers on 66 at the time. Now, I think somewhere right after this is when the bypass was, because we do catch a very faint image of that sign that said Heated Modern Hotel. We see that too, just briefly. I'm so thankful for these little home videos. I mean, I don't know what I would have done without these little videos. Again, guys playing baseball, 66, travelers going by. Still a lot of travelers back then. Okay, what do we got here? Keep on moving. We got somebody's hair. I don't know. Oh, there we go. This is the back porch of the Shamrock. These are the original storm doors that are on the back. I still have them. The doors are rotted. I have to have them rebuilt. But what I do have, which is in good condition, are the inserts for the screens and the glass. I have all of them. There's actually 4 of them total because I had them on the front too. They were later replaced with aluminum ones. Pretty neat. Must have been a pretty big gathering. Got a bunch of tables and stuff out here. That's the garage out back again. And then this would be the road. There's the well house. There's the well house. Here's Shamrock Drive right here. Here is that neon sign apparatus again across the street where Figler Excavating is today. It would have said Court and Shamrock. Amazing the things you can pick up on when watching these little videos. Guys are playing baseball. Let's see here. All right. Oh, let's pause it right there. So it's really hard to make out because there's like a conglomeration of trees. But here's the Shamrock sign right here. So difficult to make it out, but I know it's the Shamrock sign. You can just barely see how a rounded area protrudes out from the rectangle. That Heated and Modern sign would have been out here. You can still see there's plenty of grassy area out here out in front of that sign, so they hadn't quite bypassed it yet. Right there you can kind of see that apparatus again. Anyway, it's difficult to make it out, but yeah, we've got the kids there drinking a bunch of soda, root beer, Dr. Pepper or something. I don't know if we get to see much more beyond that. They would have been having a picnic. This would have been across the street from the Shamrock where Figler Excavating is today. and we just have so much obscurity over there. But I know, I'm pretty sure that sign was over there. Maybe they took it down by then. I don't know. But the Shamrock sign's there for sure. Jump roping, always fun. More drinking soda. He's getting cracked out. That's probably Billy. Let's see here. What else? I don't think there's much else revealing. There was an old roadway semi-truck that drove by on 66. Yeah, good times. Okay, we'll close out here. Let's go into the neon stash. That was a pretty cool deal. Okay, the Shamrock cleanup. So we had a lot of people show up from all over. You know, you remember that living room? There's a living room when we got it cleaned out. You can see the floor had fallen away, but we found a bunch of stuff. Here's the kitchen. Here's the oven. It'd fallen through the floor. There's the floor. You can see where everything's separated, but the cabinets are still attached. A lot had happened in just a few years since we first looked at it. A lot of deterioration, a lot of water damage. It was a real mess. This was in 2020. I remember now. We shot some videos and stuff. That's the Jelly of the Month Club. People used to give us gifts. We did find a handful of these Shamrock Court signs. I think Billy's dad was so excited to buy this place when he bought it. He just went crazy buying stuff, and I think he bought a bunch of these signs and put them all over town and stuff like that. We did find a giant box of postcards from the Weilands. I mean, probably 2,000 of them. Original postcards, still in the box. A lot of good stuff. There's the kitchen after we cleaned it out. You can see the floors are just destroyed. Here's an example of the rooms. This would have been the oldest room. This would have been Jay Weiland's room. You can see the bedspread. You can see the checkerboard flooring, which is cool, and it's bordered out in black. Pretty neat. You got the toilet in there. You got a shower. Pretty neat little room. It looks fairly similar today, except for the bed stuff's gone. And we've done a bunch of work to get the new plumbing in there. We had to recess the floor. Here's a more close-up view of how compact the shower and the bathroom was. I mean, it was really tight quarters. Old television sets, old bed. Here's me posed as a Nazi. We found this old war helmet there. We gave that back to the Weilands. Again, this was before I'd taken possession. Here's Frank Blair tearing out. We tore out all that wooden floor. We determined pretty quickly that the floor was not salvageable. It needed to come out. We're going to go through more images of that. There's some of the hardwood again, people working. There's Frank again. You got the floor behind him. You got him working in this cavity here. This is probably about 18 inches lower than where the floor would have sat. And then you can see the rippling, see where everything had failed, and everything's just like a roller coaster now. Amazing. Just amazing the amount of damage. What happens to an abandoned building. There's Rita, Elizabeth. Rita's playing guitar right now, probably thinking we should make a guitar out of the wood. That's probably what she's thinking right there. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Here's something neat. This is still there, actually. This is a swan inlay on the master bathroom. I've always thought this was cool. I'd like to get in there with a grinder and cut these out and maybe resalvage them someplace. And this is what we were left with. After we were all said and done, we just kind of propped the walls up with little blocks, and we tore out all that old wood and flooring. That was what we were left with. Old telephone from the original days. And this here is Liz. She's the one that went through all the brush here. Just off out of the frame here is the well house. And she decided to go into the well house. She's the one, I think, that discovered the neon glass here in this little well house. So this is all covered with brush. Today it's all open and clean. And I want to see if we can get to some of those images. Right here is, here it is. We got all the different neon that we found in this well house. This right over here is the word Ted. And Ted still lights up today. I've got video of that someplace. I hope I'll share it with you here in a second. You might be wondering, what's in the well house? Okay, this is what's in the well house. Look at this old industrial looking pump. So cool. Look at this thing. Piston driven. Got this motor and this belt. I want to fire this thing up so bad. I want to see if it'll still pump water. My electrician and I have talked about it. We think we're going to do it here one of these days. We get some spare time. That was a really fun session, by the way. Everybody got together. So many people came out and helped. It was a successful event. We had a lot of fun, made a lot of good friends, and we got a lot of work done too. It was great. It was fantastic. The old medicine cabinet, everything was kind of still left intact from when Billy's dad was there. You can see the old razor there, right there. That's pretty cool. What else do we have? Anything else? I want to share the video of the neon lighting up. We had some old lawn chairs. I think Billy took those with him. I think he's got those stashed away someplace. It's one of my goals is to recreate, get all the reproduction lawn chairs and put them back out front again. And let's see here. Look, we're going to go back and we're going to find a different folder. Okay. The neon's pretty cool. So I'm going to get into that in just a second. But after we kind of cleaned the place up, I thought it'd be neat just to do a recreated photo. And you can see the this is a postcard, I think, from the Wylands. And it looks, I mean, it's just so amazing that it looks the same 70-something years later. This was before we put the roof on it. Why don't I get into that neon again? So let's, there's Ted. I know you all been dying to see Ted. There he is, right there. There's Ted. Ted still lights up. He still lights up today. That was a video I did. You can check it out on YouTube. This was amazing. I had no idea if this stuff was going to work or what it was going to look like, but there you got it. If you want to check out the relighting of that, there's a CO from Shamrock, from Court, actually. That lit up as well. In fact, this piece had been patched. You can see right here it's a little bit different hue than this. It's more of an orange on the top side and a pink down here. Very strange. It looks like they fixed it. This would have been from that skeleton sign across the street over where Figler Excavating is today. It would have been the A from Shamrock. That was a really neat experience. The K still works as well. Still have that. So I got a number of these letters. They still work, which to me, it's just amazing that something so old still works. It's just crazy to me. So we had a real heck of a time. This is my dad getting these bathtubs out. Now, originally they had all these white porcelain bathtubs. We still have one in the master bedroom. But these old guys, this is my father again, him and Bill Giddings, they fought just like crazy to get these things out. And when they did, these tubs weighed like 200 pounds. Here's me relishing the fact that they were able to get one of them out. They had to get beat up a little bit to get them things out. I mean, they were concreted in there. They were not coming out, so they got beat up pretty badly. Some people hauled them away. What they did with them, I don't know. We didn't try to salvage them. That was all in 2021. This is after we had taken possession of the motel. I'm laughing because I had the video of the walking stick. And here, we'll just show a video real quick of it. This is just a...
I missed it! Don't think
Oh, wait. The Shamrock Spire.
Is that what that is?
We've all been rubbing on it, though, pretty hard.
And you do realize we're surrounded by children at this point.
Wow, that's a...
Isn't it a big one?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
It's quite hefty.
So we're making all these various innuendos because it was just kind of funny. We're making all these innuendos because what that is that is a bowl. We'll just call it a phallic part of a bowl. And that was a cane that Billy's mom used to use to walk around. We still have it. It's actually on the other side of my studio bench over here. But that was a Bull's business there. And she had it stretched out and made into a cane. That's kind of a thing that people do. And we found that interesting. It was quite a novelty there that day. Oh, what else we got? Let's go into raising the roof. So I'm going to show a video of the roof. That was quite an undertaking. Actually, that was probably one of the biggest projects that the Shamrock needed, was getting the roof replaced. Go into that a little bit here. What are we looking at here? Rot. And what was your overall prognosis?
I was expecting it to be worse, but there's nothing that can't be fixed.
Good. So this was the worst section. You can see the original green roof, and Frank did a heck of a job of fixing all these little tailings and everything, pieced all this back together. Ultimately, we sistered new boards in on every one of these little rafters coming through here, and we did a heck of a job on the roof. It just went really, really well. Yeah, there we are doing the roof. Look at that mess. What a mess. We hauled away so many dumpsters of shingle material. But what's remarkable is the condition of the wood. I mean, 95% of that wood just looked like brand new. It was amazing to see that. Glad I got the video, actually, because it was a real testament to the craftsmanship that we had here in the United States post-World War II. And the fellows that worked on this thing, they put in a lot of hard effort. They did a great job. I don't even know how many people we had out there doing the work, but it was a lot. I bet we had 15, 20 people out there in total doing all the work on this motel. Just amazing. It was fantastic. Probably one of the proudest moments so far in owning this motel. I was very scared of that roof and what we might find, but all in all, it was very intact. This is the back side of the western flank, and working on that. At the same time, we put on new gutters. You can see all the new lumber and wood that we put in. We put on new gutters, new fascia boards, new dormers, and I'm so happy that everybody came out and lent a hand. It was a good time. And even George Hartman, he came out right there, Santa Claus himself. He's a great help. Actually, I want to talk about George for a second, because he brought his grandsons out, and I want to find the help that they did. They were good guys. We actually, what we did here recently was we were demoing out these rooms. So what we did was we saw cut the rooms in order for the new plumbing to go in. So here's some of my guys working. They're removing all this concrete along the outer inside perimeter of the motel so that we can gain access to all the plumbing and replace it. These are all pictures of us jackhammering and stuff like that. I think we got a video here. We'll put that up there just real quick. Well, that's a slow motion video of Logan. That's one of my good work guys. He's in there jackhammering away and getting that. He played like heck to get that concrete out of there. Got some other guys here. This is Nick. This is Joel. They were a big help. You can see where we were digging out all the concrete and getting it ready for plumbing. Now, what do we do with all that debris? Well, we put it out here, and then we thought, well, gosh, wait a second. We've got this giant void over here in the main living room area where that sunken floor was at. And by the way, I didn't mention this. That was the only place in the whole motel that didn't have concrete floors. It was just in that office, master bedroom area, kitchen. Everything else had concrete floors. So we thought, well, heck, maybe, just maybe, we should put the concrete inside. So that's what we started doing. We started just wheelbarrowing the rock to the inside of the building. Here you are. You can see we're filling that up with the old gravel, old concrete from all the different rooms that we tore the concrete out of. And at some point here, we're picking it up, we're shoveling it with the bucket into these wheelbarrows. You can see the boys working here. These are all George Hartman's grandsons working. They did a fantastic job. A lot of teamwork, a lot of muscle, a lot of determination. And at some point here, I believe we had a little race. I'm trying to find that. Where are we at here? Okay, watch this. This is fun. They all got their wheelbarrows filled up full of rock, and they're transferring the rock from out here into the Shamrock's main office. They're going to have a race. I psyched them out. Here they go. They're racing. Oh, no. He was a smart one. He went around these two. And he still gets it.
Gavin comes in second.
That's all of George's grandsons. They were a fantastic help. I'm going to pause the video. You can see the finished product of the green roof, the beautiful architectural green roof, and all the nice new pretty dormers and stuff. And so that's where we're at here. We got a video on the inside as well. Teamwork. These guys, they work so hard. I can't thank them enough. Anytime they want to come stay at the Shamrock, they get a free room. A lot of hard work went into getting all this stuff moved from outside back inside. And we still have a lot more to go. So as we move forward, we have a work session coming up I'd like to talk about. So here in June, we've got to do a lot of work. We've got to do some floor plan remodeling. We're going to take down some of the walls on the inside of the main office because, frankly, we're not going to be using this with a master bedroom anymore. I don't think anybody is going to want to live there and sleep there. It's just too small and confined. And I'm trying to look through images, but we got to keep filling up this area with some more rock. We do have a little bit more concrete that has to come out. And so as a result of all that, we've got a work session coming up in June, and that work session will entail doing some of this gravel moving, doing some floor plan changes, tearing out walls, tearing out doors. We're going to put all new plumbing in. We're going to put all new electrical in. We already started on the electric. All the digging for the plumbing is 98% done for the most part. So we are ripe to get a lot done this year, and I hope, God willing, we can do that. You know, this whole time we've been on a budget, and like for the neon relighting and for the roof, we relied heavily on donations and grants. We are still working under a grant right now through the National Park Service. It pays for half of the electric and plumbing, which will be helpful. It's also going to pay for some of the flooring and some of the air conditioning stuff as well. And so if you're feeling froggy and you want to donate or you want to come down and help, just go to the Facebook group, or you can go to the Shamrock 66 website, www.shamrock66.com, or Saving the Shamrock Court Facebook group. You can catch the details for our event. We're going to have another cleanup and work session for the week of the 12th, I believe. We're going to try to get as much work done as possible. If you want to donate, you can donate at shamrock66.com. We would certainly appreciate that. Any help is definitely appreciated. If you want to come down and lend assistance, that would be awesome too. We really want to try to get this thing opened up pretty soon. If God willing, if I can get enough money and get enough progress made on this thing, I would really like to see at least the office open up as like a little souvenir store, say this winter of 2023. That's kind of optimistic, but I think it's doable if we can get the money coming in and we can get the help. I think we can get all that done. I hope I touched on everything. I know I didn't probably go over a lot of the neon stuff. There's the office sign I fell in love with off that picture earlier. And we had a fantastic relighting ceremony just a little more than a year ago in March of 2022. And here's the end result right there of what it looked like when we were finished. That's the Shamrock Court. This is all the simulated neon done in LED. Now, we did have some problems with that. We got to raise some money to replace that. That stuff was some cheap Chinese stuff I bought off of Amazon. I knew what I was getting into when we did it, and it looks really cool when it was done, but the stuff only lasted a couple months before it started fizzling out. So I got to find some more professional stuff to put up there. That's going to require more money. Not exactly a priority right now, but we got to get that plumbing and electrical done. Down the road, we want to get that LED replaced and put some more professional stuff on there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I don't have much else to say. We're already, I think, right at our 66 minutes. And I had a lot of people asking me about the Shamrock, and I just haven't really had much time to do the videos. I've been too busy working on it instead of promoting it, which is kind of sad. But you know, it's pretty neat. When I first got into this, I thought, you know, I don't know how long I'll own this place for. I might own it for a year or two. I might own it for 2 or 3 years possibly. My original goal was to get this thing situated to where somebody else could take it over. I just thought, well, there's just no possible way I could run this thing. Now I'm starting to have second thoughts on that. Actually, for the last year, I've had second thoughts on that. I think I'm going to give it a shot. I think I'm going to try to run it and give it a go and see how it works out. God willing, we'll do it. But it's going to take a lot more money, a lot more help, and I couldn't do this without the Route 66 community. Everybody's been so gracious and helpful, and I couldn't ask for a better family and group of friends to help me see this through. So that's the goal, is to see it all the way through, make this a first-class boutique motel that people can stay at on a nightly basis, and just bring back one of the old icons of Route 66. The community needs this. Sullivan needs this. Missouri needs this. All of Route 66 needs this. So I'm happy to shepherd it along the way. Okay. If you like the video, you know, hit the subscribe button. You know, that encourages me to make more videos. Hit that little notification bell so when I do a video, you get notices. Every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time, you're going to see a video from me. This is the first one that wasn't live, but all the other ones so far have been live videos where I take your questions and comments, and we just have a real good, interactive, fun show. 7 p.m. Central Sunday every week. And thank you. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for being here to watch it. I'm Roamin Rich. As always, go your own way. See you guys down the road, and I hope to see you at the Shamrock.